I don't know. Do you like droids?
I like the ones that are funny. I like the ones that are competent.
Which ones are funny?
The ones from the prequels are funny, and the
Like,
ones that are competent are like R2D2 or the anxiety robot from Rise of Skywalker.
mm, you really like that droid, don't you?
I really like that droid. That would be me if there was me as a droid. That would be me.
Hmm. What kind of droid would I be?
Hmm.
Gonk?
I don't
A
know.
gonk droid?
Maybe, perhaps.
Oh, that's messed up, man.
I don't know. I don't know droid knowledge much.
Hmm. I don't know what kind of droid I'd be.
Maybe you would be the droid from Solo, the one that Lando has in
The
relations
sex
with.
robot?
They I don't I I did I'm not I mean that wasn't in the movie, but it was definitely implied.
I've only seen Solo once, and I recall it being a sex robot. Am I wrong?
No, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily that. I think that they were just partners. Lando is robosexual as well as maybe other types of sexual.
So is a sex robot.
Yes. Well, yeah. You've only seen it once, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, throughout the whole movie, there's like this really vague thing of he and that robot have done some things, and at the end of the movie, that robot has to sacrifice something for them to be able to make the run through the field or whatever, so that it becomes part of the ship, and that's why Lando is so connected to the Millennium Falcon.
Insert quarters here. Shake well.
Yes. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, we're not here to talk about Solo today. We're actually here to talk about The Bad Batch, Episode 3. And the title of that one is. I don't know if I have the title. It's just.
It's like separatists. No, it
No, it
was
was
one word.
Replacements. Sorry.
Yes,
It was
I was close.
Replacements. Yeah. Episode 3. We're 3 episodes in. What are you thinking so far?
I think that when there is a clear bad guy, the episodes are way better.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, this episode I think was better than last week's.
No, that's very fair. I agree. I think last week's episode was not nearly as good as this episode. This episode actually gave me a lot of Mandalorian vibes from the last season of when he crashes on the snow planet with the spider things. It kind of
With
felt like that was what was kind of going on a little bit.
with key differences though that I
Yeah,
think are super important.
I agree. But we first start out the episode obviously with the Bad Batch flying through hyperspace. We get to see Omega, and she's sleeping on the ship. Doesn't really have a room. And you know what? Speaking of gonk droids, I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
she was using one as a pillow.
Hmm.
I can't imagine that's very comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be very, very strange to not have a living quarters in space travel. I'm glad
Well,
that they're going over that a little bit more.
yeah, yeah, because like you never like really see. Isn't the argument like you never really see toilets in Star Wars or like just
Exactly, yeah.
just
Or
normal
video
things?
games,
Yeah, just
yeah, or
whatever.
movies.
Uh,
It's just the character just keeps going, and you're like, wait,
Restaurants.
yeah.
Well, I guess you do see some restaurants. You see that diner in Attack of the Clones, which I'd go there. I'd go get a whatever. What is it? Something juice. I can't remember. But yeah, it didn't sound too appealing. But I'd do it. But yeah, so they're in hyperspace. Their ship is obviously damaged from the prior episode, and they basically shoot out of hyperspace and crash land.
Yeah.
Now, I will once again say, getting a little bit ahead of myself, but the animation of the Bad Batch is fantastic. The
I
animators
really enjoy
are
it.
very, very, very talented, and I mean, if you go back and you watch some of like the old Clone Wars, even some of Rebels, it's not that good. You know, like it obviously gets better over time, but the animation is top notch here. They did a really, really good job, and not just the animation, the effects. You know, from the steam and the ship, and all that stuff. Really, really cool. I really like how they have like scratches on their armor. It's really nice touches. Really, really nice. And the other thing too that I noticed, I don't know if you saw this, and I'm sure, I have to imagine Dave Filoni's just smiling from ear to ear when you see the shot of the ship on when they crash onto the moon. Um, it reminds me heavily of The Empire Strikes Back when they land in the worm, inside the worm.
Oh,
There's like
okay.
a lot of fog and smoke
Oh yeah, yeah.
coming up off of so you can't really see what's going on, and it gives it that vibe of there might be something out there, mystery, right? But
Yeah,
yeah,
I was a little concerned because I was like, oh, they're gonna do this thing again. It's so tropey.
it's
I was
very
gonna be
Star
like,
Warsy.
oh man. But they
Yeah,
went a nice different direction with it in this episode, and I was like, I appreciate this, and it really lends to a certain character. But I mean, we'll get to that when we get to that.
yeah,
But
that's totally fine, fair. I agree, and it is tropey. It's Star Wars. We see this almost in every Star Wars medium, and I don't think it's the last time we'll see it. So, but yeah, we have Echo, we have Hunter, Tech, Wrecker, and Omega, and Tech informs the squad that their capacitor is missing. They need
I
to.
think
Oh yeah, go ahead.
was that the only comedy in this episode? Was Tech not talking to them about how messed up the ship was because it wasn't the top of the priority? Was that the only comedy? Because I think it was.
Well, to be fair, you love Tech. Um,
Mhm.
I when you asked if that was the only comedy, I don't remember it being funny. You just might be thinking it's funny because you love him so much, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Because I think it's Echo who goes, well, why didn't you tell us about this in the report? And he
No,
goes, because that
nope.
wasn't a
I
priority.
I thought of something. I thought of something
Go
that
ahead.
was a somewhat funny moment.
Okay.
It didn't
Okay.
make me laugh, but I mean, it was there to try to make me laugh.
Oh no. Okay.
Wrecker wanting to,
Slapstick. Yeah.
yeah, Wrecker wanting to take Omega's food and not realizing it. It's just goofy. He's a goofy guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that kind of was a moment, but yeah,
Yeah. Go.
we get to see that the team is really coming to realization that they're down a man. They're missing Crosshair, literally and figuratively. Um,
Mhm.
they, especially you can see on Hunter's face, the animation's just fantastic. That it's getting to him. He feels responsible. He's very, very serious of the group. He is definitely the Leonardo of the group. Always sticking to the mission. Caring about his brothers. That kind of stuff. Uh,
Now, I understand the Bad Batch feels that they're missing their brother, which is from their perspective true. Would they be able to forgive the betrayal in episode 1? I think that they would. However, overall, the stuff that Crosshair gets up to is unforgivable, and I am sticking with the Omega Seed plausibility that he's got to go. He cannot survive the season.
yeah, it's interesting because they definitely do play into that. They ask, or they bring up the chip, and
Uh-huh.
they keep on saying, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. Definitely, they're going somewhere with that for sure. And speaking of Crosshair, we actually get to see him coming out of what looks like a CAT scan machine. Not necessarily sure exactly what's going on, just probably monitoring his behavior, and that would be Tarkin and one of the Camino cloners, making sure he's still working the way that Tarkin wants him to.
I think it's Llama Su. I think Llama Su
Is that
is
Lama Su?
the guy robot, and the girl sorry, not robot, the guy alien thing, the Kaminoan and Kaminoan, and then Nala Se is the girl Kaminoan.
That's the
Yeah,
yeah. I get them mixed up. But in this scene, we also meet. I think his name is Admiral Rampart.
yes,
Um,
Vice Admiral Rampart.
sure.
I'm looking. I'm cheating, by the way. I'm looking at the credits right here
No,
because
I'm glad you are. Fact check me by all means. Vice Admiral Rampart is definitely the first stages of the Empire showing that they want to use non-clones. They want to be able to have elite soldiers, and Tarkin is informed by Rampart that he wants the clones to be able to bring in this new group of soldiers and to train them because the clones are effective. We know this. They know this. They're just expensive. Um,
Yeah,
and
like episode 1 was really cool because Tarkin came in and he was against the clones because they're expensive. Whereas Lama Su said, well, no, the clones are effective because we genetically make them. We can make them as powerful as you want. We can do anything we want. The perfect bridge for that is Vice Admiral Rampart coming in saying, which is, I don't know if that's a play on words. I'd have to Google what Rampart means. But it's actually kind of a really cool way to write of him being the middleman, bridging those two differing opinions and saying, well, let's use the experienced clones to train the conscripted soldiers from the galaxy, and then we can slowly phase out of the expensive part and have a pretty tough regimen. Now, obviously, in Star Wars lore, that doesn't work out too well because stormtroopers are notoriously bad, but this is a nice little moment that I really appreciated. And again, the show is so powerful and is so good when it focuses on the Empire actually building its empire.
yeah, and
And it's awesome.
speaking of which, Rampart even goes into the point of stating to Tarkin that to have a strong empire, they need to have good soldiers and a lot of soldiers.
Hmm.
Um, and there are other ways to have soldiers that are loyal that aren't just clones. And so his plan, like we were discussing, was to have clones train these elite soldiers, and we actually get to meet the first elite squad. There's four of them. I don't recognize any of them. Now, I did not check the credits. I did not check the voice actors, but I'm pretty positive, if I was to make a guess, that
Uh-huh.
the one elite soldier that has probably the most screen time is voice acted by the same person who does the voice acting for Anakin in the Clone Wars animation series.
What is
Um,
that?
I'm trying to
No.
remember his name, uh, but I we can look that up real quick.
Yeah,
But
I was super interested because for the most part, it's been the one dude, D. Baker, doing most of the voice work for all of the Bad Batch, and like you're right, we get new people, so it's like okay, cool. I want to know who Vice Admiral is. I want to know who I guess they're called ESO-1 and ESO-4 and AZI-3, and so it's like interesting because we have new voice actors, which means new talent, which means some good stuff, in my opinion.
mm,
Uh,
it might
yeah,
be
who
it
who
might
voiced
be
it?
Matt Lanter. I'm trying to double check that,
Okay.
and I forgive me for not having that information, but
Yeah, I don't see that name here.
yeah, I think that is his name. Uh, but he sounded just like him then. I don't know. I
Hmm.
could definitely be wrong, but we get to meet this elite squad. We find out that Crosshair is going to be leading them. He is in command, and Crosshair has never looked more menacing ever. Looks good.
Yeah,
Black armor is a good look for
yeah,
troopers.
he's quickly becoming one of my favorite Star Wars villains.
Yeah, he's good. Um, the psychology of the clones is fascinating, for sure. We go back to the Bad Batch squad, and they are checking out the moon, looking at the ship, and they notice that on the ship there's some scratches, some pretty deep ones, and they are like claw marks. Obviously, Echo is not very thrilled with that, and he mentions it to Tech, and they look out into the fog, and they don't really see anything yet, but they're still trying to find that capacitor. Um, One thing, like maybe I missed it, but we kept on getting scenes of Wrecker holding his head like he had a headache. Did
Yeah.
they establish what was going on there?
So I think for like writing wise, like he's just been really good at punching things, and that's kind of how they've written to solve the problem. In the first episode, it was punching to get out of the cell. In the second episode, it was punching the landing gear to break it so that they could escape. Like him punching has been pretty overpowered in the past two episodes, so I felt like it was more of a way to keep him sidelined and to let
Interesting.
somebody else be able to take control.
So
Because
you
one of
literally think he just hit his head?
well, I mean, when they crash land, something hits his head. I don't remember what it was, but it's
Oh,
small.
okay.
Yeah, so
I must have missed that. I didn't know like if the chip was coming into play. I wasn't
no,
sure.
no. No, something hits his head because he buckles in Omega and then he buckles in and then something hits him and he goes, "Oh man, that hurt." And then he's just sidelined in the ship. So I feel
That's
like it
fair.
was kind of it was used two ways to give more shine and more kind of like heroic action to another character, which I think in this episode was definitely Omega and a little bit Hunter too, I guess. And to sideline him and let him kind of grow a more deep connection with Omega on the inside of the ship.
Right. Um, we we hear with the elite squad that they're now going to be sent on a mission to go eradicate Saw Gerrera, and it's led by Crosshair, and they're going to see if they can do what the Bad Batch clone. I guess what would they call them? The elite troop 99. I can't remember the exact words, but the Bad Batch. They where they couldn't succeed.
Right.
Um, so they're getting sent on their mission, and then Omega wants to volunteer on her own mission with Hunter. Now, this is kind of like a love-hate relationship for me because I like that they are throwing her into the fire because I feel like that's what a clone would do. Like if she's going to survive, she's got to start by doing it now.
Yeah.
Logically, though, I'm like, why are you taking a kid with you out there? Like there's something out there, but in a way, it kind of makes sense. Speaking of Omega, I think I have figured out why I don't like her.
Okay.
I think I figured out why a lot of people don't like her.
Hmm.
The writing's a little way too innocent. We talked about that in the last episode, but on top of that, and I mean this with no uh, I don't mean to be mean. I no ill content, nothing like that. But I just don't like the voice actress.
Oh,
She bugs me.
yeah.
I don't know. It's very 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 English. Like almost too English, where it almost sounds like it's not like a real accent. I don't know. That's just
You mean,
me. I could be totally off,
um,
but
you mean like it's heavy New Zealand for sure.
yeah, something like
But
that. Maybe
yeah,
not British,
but
but
it yeah, it's heavy New Zealand for sure. But it makes me think. Okay, I need to know her origin, which is kind of making me a little bit more invested in her. Because if she's got a New Zealand accent, doesn't mean she's from New Zealand Earth, but it just means she's from a similar place that the original clone, Jango Fett, right, is from.
right.
So that's all that really means
That's
to me.
actually a fantastic point. That is a
Is
very good
that
point.
yeah, is that she's just close to where he's from, whether she's part of his DNA or not. And we actually get a little bit of that with Nala Se and Lama Su, which I think they're. We'll talk about that when you get there, if you picked up on it. But they had a crazy conversation about like a specific clone needing to come back so that
Yeah,
they can become profitable again.
right.
Um, but anyway, I kind of want to stay on Omega on this part because it was really interesting. You stated that they were both on missions. Crosshair's on a mission, and Hunter slash Omega are on a mission. And the dichotomy of those missions, I feel, is super important. Crosshair is going out and proving that he can be a good soldier no matter what. He will follow the orders, and he will kill anyone no matter what, just to follow orders. Whereas the antithesis of that is Omega proving I do not have to kill this thing to complete the mission. It doesn't have to be that way.
Well,
And she did a
yeah.
great job at that.
That's the beautiful thing about Star Wars is George Lucas has always said, it's good stories like poetry. It's got to rhyme.
Hmm.
And it's really good story writing. You can definitely tell that Dave Filoni is heavily influenced by George Lucas. Rep, and all the stuff that Dave Filoni has put out. He is the closest thing we have to George Lucas, and it definitely feels like Star Wars because of that. And yeah, I couldn't have said it better. I really like how everything rhymes in this episode. It's really well done. Um, so they're on their mission. They run into what did they call it? A dragon of some sort.
It is called an Ordo Moon Dragon, so
That
it
was
must be on
close.
the Ordo Moon.
Ordoman dragon.
Ordo Moon.
It jumps Hunter. He loses his mask. He pulls a Buzz Lightyear, and it doesn't get his mask back on though. Unfortunately, um, Buzz Lightyear in the sense of when he takes his mask off and is
Right,
choking,
yeah.
right? um, so yeah, it comes down to Omega. Omega's got to finish the mission. She takes the blaster and follows the dragon and goes into its little lair. And then we go back to pretty fun firefight between the elite troop. I'm just gonna call them the elite troop, and
Right.
the partisans. I believe that's their name of Saw Gerrera. And they open a firefight, shooting each other, and it's always fun to me seeing good guys die. I like it. You don't see it enough in Star Wars canon. Um,
Yeah.
Even though the partisans, I mean, they're kind of like terrorists in a way. They're extreme, but I don't know. It's nice seeing a stormtrooper being able to do something.
Yeah,
Like
you brought up earlier that the last episode was very kid friendly in the fact of that all of its writing was so safe.
yeah,
Whereas like this week it was like this is
it
what
was
would
more heavy.
happen.
Yeah,
This is what the Empire would do to somebody who disobeyed them as egregiously as Sal Guerrero does. And they had no mercy whatsoever. And I could just imagine children like being upset and sad at what they're watching and crying. As a wrestling fan, it just brings me joy that perhaps a child was crying at the fact that Crosshair just straight up kills people in this episode. It is really, really good,
I
in
completely
my
agree.
opinion.
And having a flamethrower on your team is always a plus.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you go back and you watch that scene, the lighting alone is incredible. They did
Right.
such a good job. Um, but yeah, the team absolutely just murks them. They just take them all out, and they end up having some prisoners that they're not entirely sure what to do with. And I'll let you take it from here. So basically, you have the Crosshair and the guy that's been kind of butting heads with him, right? What happens next?
I would say he's kind of like the alpha of the four new characters that we get. They complete the mission pretty successfully. They isolate the prisoners, or rather the enemies, the traitors, whatever you want to call them, running away. They have them in a submissive in like spot. They can't even move. Nothing can be done with them. And Crosshair is all about getting the mission done, and his orders are to eliminate Saw Gerrera's party. Right? The other people, though, are conscripted soldiers. They have families. They understand family. They understand that the galaxy is complicated. They're just doing a job. But this is Crosshair's mission, and he's not going to let anyone stand in his way. And so there's a little bit of a power struggle in that small moment between the alpha of the four new people and Crosshair. And Crosshair wins. Crosshair wins pretty
Yeah, that
easily.
that power struggle does not last. He definitely takes care of the cancer before it spreads.
Yeah.
In his mind, like this guy obviously was part of the Republic before. This is not right to him. He, you know, he feels like he needs to do what is right, and he starts a mutiny almost. And that's not usually what soldiers do. But in this scenario, it was really awesome because we get to see Crosshair have probably the best line in the entire episode, in my opinion. Um, I loved, and I actually have it right here. He says, "You want to know why they put me in charge?" And he
Yeah.
says, "It's because I'm willing to do what needs to be done." And then he shoots him, point blank.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, Very, very awesome. Very, very heavy. Good soldiers follow orders. I love it.
I it's to me, I think it's the mantra of his character is good soldiers follow orders.
Yeah, and then on top of that, he makes his soldiers follow his orders by finishing the mission, literally.
Keeping people in line. Yeah, it's so good. It makes me kind of want to rewatch that part of the episode again
Oh, I'm
because
definitely gonna rewatch all of this episode. Is a good one.
I freaking love Crosshair,
Yeah,
and
he's great.
I'm gonna be really sad when Hunter has to kill him and sacrifice himself to kill him. Omega Seed, the Omega Seed, it's real.
I don't know if Hunter's gonna kill him. I think Crosshair's gonna kill Hunter, and I think that
Sure.
Crosshair is eventually gonna snap out of it, and he's gonna realize what he's done, and he's going to either sacrifice himself, or if they have the cojones to do it, which I think would be incredible, he takes himself out. I
He's
think it,
irredeemable. He cannot survive past this season unless he's like an overall villain of the entire series. He needs to go simply because of what he did in this episode to innocent people and his own soldiers. No matter what chip is in your head, that to me, when you're writing a TV show, that is pretty unforgivable. Even if you do turn for the good at the end, you still have to go very Darth Vader-esque of no. It's I might have made the decision at the end to be a good guy, but I have to pay for this.
right. Um, we get back to Omega. She's in the tunnels. She finds the moon dragon, and the moon dragon apparently wants her flashlight. It's I guess attracted to technology, power maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
like, it sucks up like energy, and that's kind of how it fuels, which
right.
is interesting.
I know. I mean, you're on a floating moon. Where do you get where do you get substance?
And this was the difference to me between that Mandalorian episode, which I think was maybe my. It was still a good episode, but it was still my least favorite one of this past Mandalorian
That's
season.
fair. Yeah, that's fair.
But the difference between this episode and that one is one, it's way shorter, and two, those monsters were just there to create a problem for the Mandalorian so that he could get out of it, whereas this monster was here to give more character to Omega, saying, "No, my worth as a clone. You know, I don't have the technology, I don't have the brains, I don't have the brawn. My it feels like wit to me, or like in the action thinking, like she's just really quick on her feet, and she is really good at making decisions. And that's really showcased here by, oh, I don't have to use the blaster and possibly die fighting this thing to complete the mission. I can just easily outwit this thing, give it what it wants. It's happy. I'm happy. Mission complete.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Um, we get to go back to Crosshair, and he returns to, I believe they're on a Star Destroyer, but Tarkin and Rampart meet them and recognize that they're missing a soldier. And, I mean, they don't even really acknowledge that they're missing a soldier when they say, hey, you're missing a soldier, and Rampart says, well, yeah, it happens and stuff in battle. And when I say they don't acknowledge it, I mean the troop. They're just
Yeah,
like,
ish
yeah,
happens out there.
it just happens.
Ish, ish happens. We don't need to talk about it, right,
Yeah, we,
guys?
we don't yeah we don't need to file a report or
Yeah.
just it happens. It's just the way things work now. But Tarkin is greenlighting his project, which is cool. I wonder if we'll see more of different kind of squads being developed, and
Yeah.
it'd be cool. It'd be really cool. Yeah,
It's
I
cool
think it
because
would
it's kind
establish
of like,
more characters in canon and seeing different kind of bad guys and stuff. But
yeah, a lot of people really wanted to see those evil Jedi that got brushed away with Kylo Ren from Luke's camp, and that
mm,
was never delivered. I think you can deliver an infant version of that here with these clones and have
I
some cool crews.
I don't think they're gonna do that at all. And the reason why is because I don't think they want to touch the past trilogy with a 10-foot pole right now. It was
Well,
very
that would have
it
been
was very divisive, and
no, no, no. I'm not saying those people exactly. What I'm
okay,
saying is that people wanted to see it when it was teased in the first movie. The second movie did not give them that, and they were upset. And the third movie definitely did not give them that, and it was almost unforgivable. Whereas, like, you could easily give some of those ideas some credence here with some of these clone trainers and Crosshair at the head, and make some of these conscripted stormtroopers a little bit more character driven rather than just being stormtroopers. And maybe this could be like the beginning of the Captain Phasmas and those top level stormtroopers that we do see later on. It doesn't have to be the same characters, but
I agree.
um, a cool version would be awesome. There's a lot of gap in between A New Hope and I think The Mandalorian might have been the thing before it. Maybe I
Yeah.
don't know. Timeline's all
By the
fancy.
way, random note, but gray hair really works for Crosshair.
Mm-hmm.
I think it fits him perfect. But yeah,
Yeah.
they go back to their bunks, and it's kind of funny. We see that the troop is settling in, and we see I believe Hunter's bunk, and I went back and looked at the scene, but it was Hunter's bunk, and I believe it's Tech's bunk. Hunter's bunk has a big skull on it. Tex has
Right.
nerd stuff written all over the wall.
Yeah.
And then obviously we see Crosshair reflecting with the room, and we see the tally marks in the wall, and it makes you wonder what he's thinking. Like is this a new chapter in his life? Is that the thoughts that's coming through his mind, or is he regretting, not necessarily regretting, but missing his brothers in a way?
It's the Omega Seed, man. It's there. He's not
Mm.
completely evil.
Yeah, no, I agree. We after that scene we get to see Wrecker give Omega a surprise, and I don't know if like I just am not paying attention, but I didn't realize that Wrecker's face is like messed up. Did you know
Yeah.
that?
Well, I know he's the bullet sponge because in the first episode he takes three, I think,
I
blasters.
know, but in this
Like,
specific scene when he goes to talk to Omega, you see the side of his head, and it looks like
force lightning.
tree roots. Yeah, force
Yeah.
lightning. It's
Like,
he took a
something.
hit. Yeah, he took a hit for sure.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah,
for
he
sure.
has a surprise for her. And what's that surprise? What does he do?
So he's constructed her a bedroom.
Mm.
And again, I think this is has to be from Wrecker because he's pretty much an overgrown child.
Yeah,
And he's the one who's going to connect most with Omega fastest
yeah,
in terms of being a child. So if he's sidelined on the ship, why not give her a bedroom? I think this was more for the kids because the rest of the episode was pretty dark, literally, figuratively, and this
well,
this literally brightened up the show.
he even put in a nice little touch in her bedroom. Did you notice what that was?
I did not know. I was too busy gushing
Uh,
over Crosshair.
I only remember seeing this once with him. I'm sure we've seen it before, but Wrecker has a bunny rabbit of some sort that he
Right?
carries
Yeah.
around with him, and it was
Hmm.
chilling in there waiting for her.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he's giving her what's valuable to him.
Right.
He really cares about her.
Right. Yeah, I think it's key her becoming part of the group. It's going to set up an interesting situation with Lamassu and Nala Se when they have no choice but because really they're the capitalists in this situation. They have no good or evil morality. All their good or like they're not red for the Sith, they're not green or blue for the Jedi. They're green for money. All they care about is being profitable and wealthy.
Right. And that's where our episode ends. Now, obviously, the episode, I mean, ends in that scene, but she's now a part of the squad. And the squad looks like they, actually believe that. This episode was, um, I believe it was directed by Brad Bird. I could be
Mm,
wrong. I'm not entirely sure. I know Dave Filoni has a hand in all of it, but whoever you did this one did a fantastic job for sure. Um,
yeah.
is it Brad Bird? Let me
Um.
see. I actually am pulling it up. Supervising director was
Yeah.
Brad Bird. So,
Oh,
um,
Brad Rowell. Brad Rowell. I don't know how to
am I saying that
pronounce that.
wrong?
RAU was the
Yeah.
whatever.
Sorry. Why am I saying Brad Bird?
Brad Bird's not the director. Yeah.
Brad Rao. Yeah. Really, really good job. Um,
Oh, sorry. Replacements directed by Nathaniel Villanueva, written by Matt Miknovets, and story editor Matt Miknovets. Excellent
um,
job.
I also want to point out. Oh my gosh, where that the voice actor for all of the clones,
Mm.
for all of the Bad Batch is fantastic. I believe
David Lee
that's
Baker?
D. Bradley Baker.
D. Bradley Baker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he is
yeah.
very very talented.
I remember telling you after the first episode, we were just kind of talking offline candidly about something else. I think we were doing like trivia or something. You had asked me how I knew what his name was. I had read an article, and he goes from like he doesn't do all of Crosshair's lines and then do all of Tech's lines. He will go straight through. So if he has Wrecker going and then Hunter responds, he switches on the spot because he that's just how he works, and that's way more difficult than just doing the lines individually and then plugging them in like a puzzle. So like
I
yes,
agree.
hats off to that guy. This dude is really really good.
I agree. I think we both have already said it. We both enjoyed this episode. On ranking of 10, where would you put this?
I enjoyed a heck of a lot of the episode. I'm applauding the braveness of a kids show to be so cold-blooded with Crosshair. So I'm gonna give it an 8. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It had a lot of purpose. It was written poetically, as you said, which is completely different from last week's episode, which honestly I think you could take it out and you wouldn't really miss a whole lot. Crosshair I don't even think was in it last year or last week. So I'm gonna give this one an 8. I think it was back to form and it was solid.
I gotta agree. I'm gonna give it an 8 as well. This is one of those episodes that you can go back and watch it as a standalone episode. You don't necessarily have to follow the storyline, and it's still gonna be enjoyable. Definitely a story that they wanted to tell in this episode, and they did it. Last week, it kind of felt like filler. It really did. It didn't. There
Mm-hmm.
was no real direction, but this episode definitely makes you wonder. How these characters are progressing, where they're going to progress to, and what consequences are going to happen because of their actions. It's going to be fascinating to me, and I hope they continue to dive deeper into the conflict and affliction that Crosshair is obviously going through.
Yeah.
He most likely internally feels like he's doing what is right, but he's not necessarily happy with it, which I'm sure is hard. It's really fascinating to me. I really like the philosophy, not the philosophy, but the psychology of how they're approaching the clones, and how their minds work with these chips. It's really really cool. Next week, not sure what's going to happen, but do you have any predictions where the show's going, other than what we've discussed before, or is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't know if my prediction is too much different than what it is. I mean, I'm sticking with the Omega Seed. Hunter and Crosshair, I think, both have to go. I think it's setting up either Echo and right now, I think Omega has a pretty solid chance of leading the Bad Batch post record or post Hunter and Crosshair. But yeah, that would be my thing. The Omega Seed, man, she'll be growing.
I have a theory,
Okay.
um, and I don't really have a lot of evidence toward this theory. It's more of just a feeling, I guess. Um, I think it would be fascinating to see Omega develop into a certified shock trooper, in the sense of how these elite soldiers, these Bad Batch, they are raising her. They are showing her, how things work. She talks to Hunter in this episode about being able to track. She says, "Do you
Mhm.
think I'll be able to do that one day?" And I think that's 100% foreshadowing. And I apologize for missing that in earlier in this episode. But it's just came to my mind. I think if I was a story writer where this was going, I think Omega, and I'm really hoping, is not a character we've seen, or a character that's really someone that we knew before. I've
Okay.
seen some theories. I haven't read them or really, watched anything on it, but I saw something, and I read it. Someone was like predicting she was like Ray's mom. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. Um,
Ew, wait, with Palpatine?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh no.
Well,
Oh
no,
yeah, no, I don't.
It wouldn't be with Palpatine. It'd be with
No, it'd be
Palpatine's
with
son.
Palpatine's kid. Yeah,
Right.
but yeah,
I
no, no, I wouldn't like that. No.
my theory, my the feeling I have in my gut, and I think this would be really cool, is she's gonna become a top notch, high level commando in her own right.
Okay.
Whether that be like a mercenary or whatever, she's gonna continue to live on after these guys go pass away. But I think that she could be a character in the future that we could even see in live action eventually, like what we've seen with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Right now, she's very childish. She's not super likable. She's a kid, but she definitely wants to learn from these guys and definitely wants to grow into what these guys are. It's what she actually wants. And I think it would be really cool. Like, one thought that came to my mind when I was thinking about this is, where are the cloners at in all of Star Wars after the Clone Wars? You don't really see them, right? The people that
Right.
developed the clones. And what if somehow she has a vendetta against them, and she takes him out. Maybe she's the one. Maybe she's the reason we don't see him. Yeah, I don't know.
I
It'd be
mean,
really cool to see her develop into a character that we can see in the future.
right.
That are like another Boba Fett almost. Someone that's iconic, something that is a symbol of what Star Wars. You recognize it, and it could be cool. I don't know. It'd be really interesting, but yeah,
Yeah.
good episode. Other than that, that's really all I have. Do you have anything
hmm
else you would like to say?
I mean, past this series, would I be okay with an Omega in the live action? I think so if they were to pull it off correctly.
If
She
they
does
do it
not
right.
need
Yeah.
she does not need to be connected to Luke Skywalker. She does
Nope.
not need to be connected to anything that
You
we've
know
already
you know what I
seen.
want her connected to?
Yeah.
The underworld.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sure.
I want her connected to all the gangster stuff.
Yeah.
I want her literally to be like, I mean, Boba Fett is a bounty hunter. I don't want her to be a bounty hunter, but he's so involved in that crime world. I want her involved in that kind of way. I don't want her to be fighting with the New Republic. I don't want any of that. I want more of like what's happening behind the scenes, that kind of stuff, cuz
Mhm.
that kind of stuff with Star Wars is what is really fascinating me right now. I want more lore. I want more of the galaxy that they have. They have so much that they can do, and I know that they recognize that. And with the crime syndicate and all that stuff too, Mandalorian even. I could 100% see her coming into Mandalorian.
Yeah.
100% if they do her correctly.
Yeah, I would like maybe a one episode one off in Mandalorian kind of showcasing her post Bad Batch because these
You
clones
you
are
know
aging rapidly.
the I can't remember her name from the Mandalorian, but she's the assassin that eventually joins up with him and is the
Yeah.
sniper.
Yeah, I think she's gonna be in this too.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is her demeanor, her like how
Mhm.
she behaves. That's
Right?
what I envision with
Oh,
Omega.
I see something way more tragic.
Oh, really? No, well, not like that's where she ends up. I'm just saying like how she behaves. She was a
No, no,
goofy,
yeah,
sad, or goofy, innocent little kid, and then she just turned into this badass.
yeah. I mean, I still see her being badass, but I see her being filled with nothing but sadness. I mean, basically, her family right now was either the Kaminoans or the Bad Batch, and I feel like we're now seeing that Hunter is Mama Hunter, and everybody else
Mama
is like
Hunter. Is that his new
Uncle
name?
Wrecker,
We gotta call him
Mama
Mama Hunter.
Hunter. Yeah, for sure, or Poppy Hunter,
Photoshop
whatever
an
you want to
apron
do.
on him.
Yeah, because for sure, like I mean, these clones are aging rapidly. Does she have that aging in just like those clones do?
Mm,
They're gonna die one day, and I
yeah.
would love to see an aged, old, wise, badass, super sad because all of her uncles have died. Uh, but she picked up all of their traits. Like she knows how
Yeah.
to be super strong. She knows
She
how to be super
becomes the entire
techy.
squad.
She is the right Omega. I think that's Greek for something really cool. But
Omega
yeah,
means end, and it's the last
all
letter,
right.
I believe, of the alphabet.
Cool. Then yeah, she's the end of the Bad Batch in terms of one by one over the next 2 or 3, 4 seasons, however much the show has. I would like to see one by one the entire Bad Batch have no choice but to die of old age or being shot or whatever, and she takes over their role in the Bad Batch, and she could become a one man army like they are, and then she just retires and dies of old age happily. That would be really cool for me to see, because Star Wars, it's like, oh, you have to die by tragically by falling down a pit, or you have to be stabbed by your son, or it's like, no, no, no. Some people should just be able to die of old age, and that's it. Like, I feel like Leia, I think, got that, but I want to see more of that sad, tragic, you lived life, almost Lady Hamilton from Hamilton the musical. You lived life, you did so much, but you weren't around for A New Hope.
Yeah. And
That
you
would
know
be
what?
cool.
I actually wouldn't be surprised if they only have one season of this show. If they, have a story that they specifically want to tell, they tell it, and then they move on uh, to establish, this show is going to establish, there's a reason they're doing this. There's got to be.
Yeah. And if Omega
Omega's got to be part of it.
and if Omega means end, I couldn't imagine a more perfect ending than her being the end of the Bad Batch. Sad, tragic, lived life, and that's it because she's a clone.
Well,
So,
you heard it here. Other than that, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us to talk about the Bad Batch. I don't even think we introduced us at the beginning. That's all right. Good Batch
mystery
podcast. We're going to be doing a lot more moving forward, not just talking about Star Wars, but a lot of different mediums. And if you have any recommendations or anything that you would like to hear or us talk about, cover, we're definitely open to that. I think we're going to do some anime in the future, definitely movies, more TV, all that good stuff. But until then, thank you guys so much, and may the force be with you always.
yeah.